bishop d6 is played. So where is the rook going to go? In fact, it goes to a7. Now h6, quite a little waiting move, a piece down, quite a little waiting move, nice. Knight d2, and now this is a really, really interesting move from Topalov. Although he's got access to e2, ideally, you know, the queen and rook would be nice to work together on this second rank. And this next move, although a piece down, he's offering simplification with bishop b4. One of the points, you know, he's going to gain access to b2 for his queen if he can undermine, you know, this bishop's support of b2. If the queen can go to b2 and the rook to e2, this could spell disaster for the white king. Alternatively, in the centre, you know, this pawn's going to be really dangerous, supported by this pawn. So d2 is going to be a threat. So I think, you know, Anand plays a very accurate defensive move here. If he ventured knight e4, as you'll see from the variations in the game, you know, if you look at the description, this is dangerous, I think, now for white. Say bishop takes, now f5. Now, if the knight goes to d6, let's have a look. So queen b6 or queen c5. Queen c5 might be a move which actually gives black the advantage. Queen b6 might be enough for a draw. So the idea here is to provoke rook g7. I know this is really technical, but the knight's sucked into the black position, and basically these pawns will give black, I think, a winning position here after queen e7. Because there's no time to play knight c7 because of d2s after the queen's come off. So this would be like winning. But queen b6, I think, will be a draw. But have a look at the variations if you want to drown yourself in them. Be my guest. I put them in with the help of Ribka afterwards. But I think queen c5 is the most accurate, and I'll promote that over queen b6. Okay, so f5. Now, also knight f2, queen b2, and this shows how passive white's position can get with these entry points being used, e2 and b2, in conjunction with this dangerous pawn. For example, like this, queen h3, say, and now queen b5, cunning move, gaining a little bit of time because black really wants to play d2, but he can actually do that and come back now after this check to protect f5 from there. And now this kind of thing will spell disaster for the white king, because not only the 7th rank is pressurized, this d pawn is an absolute menace, and this kind of crushing position could be reached. So that's the kind of disasters that were in store. So Anand's move after bishop b4 is very, very nice, very, very accurate, holding maybe a small advantage, but it's really, really complex, you know, and you have to play so accurately here. So rook e2, rook d1, and now queen a4. So this is interesting, holding on to c4 whilst preparing maybe queen c2 or queen a2. So that's the safe way of getting to the 7th rank without necessarily allowing knight c4s at the moment. So Anand played knight e4, now queen c2 on the 7th rank with the friendly rook attacking h2. But Anand has something in mind here to simplify the position, to get the queen and rooks off. He plays rook c1, inviting the queen and rook to come off in this continuation. So rook g2. Now white takes. So black, although Topalov is a knight down, his pawns are just too dangerous. But apparently, I think he didn't mind a draw here, but Anand was now playing for a win. However, once the pawn reaches the 7th rank in this situation, that knight is very, very difficult to exploit as an advantage, being a piece up here, because that pawn on the 7th, you know, is supporting, you know, queen e1s, etc. The knight can't really do anything active. So there were these moves, which bit of probing moves all the time, but white's not getting anywhere with this. And here they'd agreed a draw. Very, very exciting game. Tons and tons of variations if you want to drown yourself in technical details. From a positional sacrifice perspective, It's making me question about, do you need the right timing before you play the positional sack, or is it the strategic possibilities you try and mine after doing the positional sack to pronounce the original sack even more with another one later maybe? Because in this game, if we go back in overview and summary, the first positional sack, I know a lot of people would understand and maybe punt, but the second, you know, for knight and bishop, is incredibly dynamic stuff. I'm really pleased that you know, I'm more enthusiastic now about the match after this game, with this level of dynamism being demonstrated. So knight d5, and now knight and bishop for rook. Great stuff to try and crumble the white centre, slow down and pulverise development, especially of this knight. So long-term pressure, and you know, really interesting imbalances in the middle game here. So although this was a draw, you know, it was a very, very exciting draw, much more exciting in my view than the previous game. So I'm glad in this position that Topalov didn't simplify you know, his imbalances with queen b2. I'm glad he played bishop f8, and it really did require great accuracy from Anand here to avoid being pulverized because of this rook e2 and this pressure on the 7th rank. So this move, rook a1, was a very well. Bishop b4 was a brilliant move. You know, a piece down, offering, you know, the bishop exchange just to try and get access to some more squares, knowing that this knight, you know, it's always not that great. In this whole game, this knight has not been brilliant, and it's not a brilliant defender for the white king, and it's not a good wanderer, as some of the variations show. You know, to e4 to d6 doesn't really work out as well, because these pawns are always dangerous. You know, there's a possibility of d2 if it wanders too far. So Topalov's got very interesting imbalance in this game, and this was very clever and scary for white here. So Anand was kind of brave to go in for this continuation, where he's inviting these guys to his second rank, and then getting a position of piece up, but it's academic. So the earlier advantages of these pawns are securing enough pressure for black, for white not to be able to exploit his extra piece. I enjoyed this game. I hope you did. Great fighting draw. Please leave any comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.